Good morning. So it is Friday morning. I have no idea where the week went, so I guess we'll just do a recap, and then I'll have to go cycling through my phone and find out if I had any interesting stuff filmed from the week. One thing we got back, I don't know, 2-3 days ago, we did end up sending this truck out to be blasted and painted, and wow, that turned out really well. We brought it down here and we thought we better blast it, we better paint it. So the guy came out, looked at it, and he's like, yeah, just take that box off. I'll come out with my trailer. I'll pick it up. I'll bring it into my shop, blast it and paint it, bring it back. We can put it back on the truck. Okay, that's a perfect idea. So then we got under here and we got looking. Okay, here's the pins. Uh-oh, right? They're welded in there. So we would have had to either cut these hinges right off, cut the pins out, make new hinges, make new pins, make new everything. So he just said, so we decided, you know what, this truck's old. It's only a single axle anyways, so it really doesn't hold that much. Like, it doesn't hold a dryer load. It barely holds even a new combine load, really. So it is getting a little small for the farm. Maybe it's not even worth blasting. So we tossed that idea around for a day or two, and then, you know, we said, if you can blast it with the box on it, go ahead and do that. So, and yeah, I would say he did an amazing job. So it was quite rusted and quite in need of some TLC. So that's done. We did that this week. We've been making bags of feed like crazy. We got all this bagged up for a lady coming today. It snowed. I don't even know what day it snowed. We plowed snow. I think one day I plowed snow all day. Maybe that was Monday morning, I guess. So also we fixed the hammer mill again. Rebuilt that gearbox. That's been running a lot better. I fixed these forks. These brackets were all wrong because these forks weren't built for this loader. So I had to make these new brackets, salvage some steel. That's what these holes are for. That was from a different application for this metal. Made some new pins. And so that's kind of how the week went. For right now, I'm going to fire up the backhoe, fire up the plow tractor. It's snowing again. So we got a call this morning that they want to pick up a load of grain today, if anybody would load them. We always try to be those people that will load. So if it's cold, if it's muddy, if it's whatever, we make it work. We go up, plow the snow, get the tractors plugged in, get everything ready, get everything set up. Because with the whole shift in grain buying, grain marketing, blah, 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 everything's, you know, there's been a list created with everything. You know, unreasonable producers, unreasonable companies, unreasonable expectations of prices, unreasonable expectations of qualities, and blah, 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 blah. You're on a list, you know, with computers and everything now. If you don't think you're on a list, you're naive. You are on a list. And in our experience, it's better to be on the top of that list than on the bottom. So when grain buyers, they phone and they want, you know, they want the grain earlier, you know, with some, you know, adverse weather or whatever, we just say, you know what, okay, we'll do it, we'll get it figured out. On our end, you know, it's only a bit of snow plowing and plugging the tractor in for a few hours anyways. We can put the stuff in the heated shop. We're fortunate for that. So, you know, it's not the end of the world. I will admit one thing that does frustrate me is when they put the clauses in their contracts when they buy your grain that they'll take it by a certain date, and then they don't. That stuff really bothers me because I can handle shipping it early. I can't handle shipping it later, because what you end up doing to the farmer is creating a situation where he has to sit around. And I will admit, in my situation, I'm here anyway, so it's not that big of a deal, but it's more on principle at that point, that you create the situation where this guy has to sit around and wait for you to call for the grain that you said you would take by a certain date. So other than that, we try to work as well as we can with the buyers and the end users to make sure they're getting the grain they need when they need it, weather aside. If you can't, you know, there's a saying, you don't like the weather in Alberta, you just wait 5 minutes. So if you're not willing to adapt to weather changes or hauling in adverse weather or loading in adverse weather, then you're going to find yourself at the bottom of the list. You're going to be getting called last. It's going to spiral out of control. If you're the kind of person that can live with that, you'll be all right. If you're like me and you don't want to be on the bottom of the list, it'll drive you crazy. So anyways, enough about that. I'm gonna run out. Everything's plugged in, so everything should start. It's not that cold, it's about -19. Once I get everything fired up, I'm gonna plow snow because this guy wants to load at 2 o'clock. So by the time I basically get everything plowed out, it will be, the guy should be here. So the one project I spent quite a bit of time on was making these brackets for these forks. The ones that were on here were these ones right here. And as you can see, they're quite a bit narrower. And the distance from the top hole to the bottom hole is quite a bit shorter. So what would happen is when you tilted the forks all the way down, this bottom part right here of the loader, so that's why it's bent out like this, would actually hit the bottom part of the forks, cause these pins to bend. So I came in here one day and actually this pin was broken and only half in here. So I made new pins and I cut all the old brackets off and I welded new brackets on. That was about a 2-day ordeal. Then we moved on to the hammer mill. I kept blowing shear pins, didn't know why. So when I took it all apart again, there was this piece holds the shaft that drives the auger, that unloads and that circulates the grain in the hammer mill. So that's underneath the hammer mill. So that broken plate would have been down here, if I can get my hand in there. So it would have been here. So I built a new plate out of quite a bit heavier steel. I made a couple spacers to keep it away. And then it actually bolts onto a self-centering bearing flange that, anyways, that holds this steady. And then there's another one just further back here. This is just a steady bearing for it. So what had happened, this whole shaft, when that bracket up front broke, it moved forwards. And when it moved forward, if you carry on down on the shaft, it goes into the gearbox just on the other side of this chain. And it actually pulled the stub shaft that goes into the gearbox, it pulled it back a little bit too. And because of that, it loosened off the bearing and it allowed it to have a slight bit of wobble. So then the seal failed. So I noticed there was some oil dripping out down below it when it was outside. So once I got it in here, I took the gearbox all apart anyways. I cleaned it all up, got a new seal, and then put it back together. So that was basically all of last week. We ran into town on Monday, I think it was, Tuesday, to get parts. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was all about hammer mill maintenance, hammer mill repair, and fixing those forks. Before I brought this in, I did make a few bags. I loaded out a few bags, but that was pretty much all last week. And unfortunately, all that footage got deleted. So you just get a recap. All I got to do here today, I got to fill that gearbox back up with oil. I'm going to top the oils off on the tractor because they're inside and nice and warm. So, you know, funnels, oils, and everything bend more, flow more when it's warm. So I'm going to do that. Good evening. So it's certainly super duper cold and super duper snowed a lot, and it's still starting to snow again. Today, in true bloom fashion on the farm here, nothing went the way I thought it was going to go. Had an email this morning from a buyer. They wanted to load up some grain. Of course, I hadn't plowed out those bins. The tractor with the grain vac had been sitting outside for the last couple of weeks, so battery was dead in that. Plus it was minus 25 or whatever, trying to get that going. So I spent all day plowing snow, boosting that tractor. By the time the guy got here, though, everything was running. That was good. I didn't do anything in the shop. This truck still needs springs. The springs are sitting right there. I guess the weather guy's telling us minus whatever, 30, 40 for the next couple days. So I can't foresee myself outside doing a whole bunch. So tomorrow, I think, is going to be springs. It would have been for sure springs, and it probably still will be. But I just went to put this plow tractor in the shop for the night. So it would start in the morning, and driving it into the shop, boom, flat tire. So these tires were old tires. I just threw them back on last winter, but you can see they got fairly aggressive cracks in there, and I guess today was their day. So first thing tomorrow, I guess I'm gonna come in here. I'll have to peel this tire off. I do have another one. It's not the same size as the other one on the other side, but I'm gonna put it on. It won't make a big deal because this usually just sits on the hammer mill anyways. So that's probably gonna be the first project in the shop. Then I'll be able to get this tractor out of the way. Next project in the shop will be the springs. I sprayed the U-bolts that hold them on, so hopefully they come off. I don't know, I don't think you're supposed to reuse those U-bolts, but due to the fact that this truck is never going to be a commercial vehicle again, it's just going to bomb around the yard. If I can get the bolts and stuff off, I'll just reuse those U-bolts. If not, I'll have to run into Bradvin and get him to make me a set, which won't be a big deal either. But that's how the day went. So there's going to be, I don't know. Basically, this video would have been just a recap of the week. A little bit of snow plowing, a little bit of loading wheat on a Super Bee, and hopefully we'll get some more interesting stuff in another one. Also, house update. I know there was one lady that was kind of interested in that. I don't know. The guy told us 2 weeks. Today would be 2 weeks, and my wife never got nothing back from him. So I don't know. Maybe he gave up. But stay tuned for that if you were interested at all in what that was going to look like. And as always, to everybody that watches, thank you, and we'll see you all on the next one.